Hello and welcome everybody to New Earth Consciousness. I am here with Olivia de Sousa. She she is a singer and a writer, and she has a wonderful journey that she's been on that we're going to dive into, and it's going to be really just talking about following following the intuitive nudges that even when you don't know where they're going and what unfolds in that process. It's so Olivia, I want to thank you so much for being here. In fact, you used to have a podcast, um,
hmm
and uh, and so let's start there. So you had this podcast. I'm assuming there you were having some success with that.
Well, it was my stable business. I had a podcast, but really my business was being a podcast manager, so managing other people's podcasts. So people like
Gotcha.
yourself and others. So getting their raw material and making it so that they could just share their message with the world, and I take care of the grunt work.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Uh, so, and what I really loved about that is that I was attracting people into my life, people like you. I mean, I tended to have people in my life who were on a mission and who were really genuine, who are heart-led and wanted to share a message. They had a purpose-driven business, and the podcast was part of that. So I enjoyed being a part of that. However, I guess the part that wasn't really for me, and the part that was in the back of my mind at some stage that I needed to address and do something about, and I was never really sure how to or when, um, was the the part that isn't really a good fit for me and the way my brain works and what I'm meant to do, and which is I have ADHD, and that is not to say that everyone with ADHD will have the same experience or as me, but I the part of the time management and the having to know when to receive the thing from the person and for multiple different clients and to make sure that nothing fell over and reverse engineering how much time everything would take and make sure that it all happened on time and managing an assistant and all of the moving parts it's not what I'm designed for. Like that part of it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved the
Yeah.
creative part, but
Right.
that part of it was like, one of these days I'm going to maybe focus on coaching people on successful podcasts or like doing more courses and move away from this part that's got me on a treadmill. And I thought I would one day do that, and that would be sensible. Uh, but I never knew when, so I just kept muddling on because the work kept coming, landing on my lap, and it needed to be done, and I didn't know what else to do, and then it's kind of in a row. A couple of little hiccups happened with clients where I had to rush to get things out in time, kind of near misses, if I'm honest. But one day, there was one. The client had been a little late with getting something that had caused a bit of a domino effect, so we had to scramble to get everything ready for the publishing date the next day. And we did it, and it got all approved, and it was done. And then the only part I didn't do, like all the material, the content, everything was recorded.
Mhm.
And the only part I hadn't done was the actual scheduling of it. And that part I just sent a message and handed it over to my assistant and kind of mentally closed the tab
Mm.
and just exhaled and relaxed. And and then I went to bed at night and then woke up at 1 a.m. or 1:30 or something. And as I'm very into meditations, I record a lot myself and have them on YouTube and Insight Timer. So I'm very into meditation. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, I often like to put on a meditation. So I reached over to my phone. And the problem with that is sometimes you see other things on the phone which are not as relaxing. So I saw a message there that had been sent from a client at about 10:30 or something. So sorry to contact you at this late hour, but it's not scheduled. So something must have gone wrong with, for some
Mm.
reason, my assistant not seeing that message. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so and it was due to be published at 5 a.m. that morning. So I dragged myself out of bed and scheduled it. And of course, as as fate would have it, it didn't go smoothly because she used Buzzsprout as a platform, which is great for if you want to have dynamic ads, which is a great feature if you want to be able to advertise something and update it across all your episodes easily. But it creates these show notes and they would truncate her normal show notes. And I had to figure out how to get the character limit down and like the little glitches like that that I had to figure out. So it all took longer. And so, like an hour later or so, I'm like, it's all done. And I just sat there and I went, it was like a gift. Like, so, so if this client ever listens and hears this, I don't want her to feel bad because I feel like it was a gift because I needed some sort of catalyst. I needed something to create the clarity to go, it's never going to change.
Right.
And you're not going to like set up something else gradually and build up some other part of your business. You're never going to get that chance. You actually have to get off the hamster wheel before the next thing can happen. Like I just had that clarity. I went,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I have to make the decision. It's now. And I just had this bee in my bonnet, which is I've got to do it. I've got to do it now. I've got to do it before I change my mind. I've got to do it before it just felt like the right time. It was like before Christmas, before everyone sort of winds down their podcast for the year and all this stuff. I was like, I have to do it now. I have to do it now. I have to do it now. And so I got it done within, I think, about 2 weeks. Like I just figured out one by one each client. How do I need to hand them off and tie off, not leave them in a lurch? I connected them to my assistant. So hopefully it's a win-win. You know, they'll, my assistant can make more money going directly. Like I just went, I've just got to do it. Anyone that I just started a project with, I had to contact and say, I'm sorry, don't make any announcements. I've
Yeah.
had this realization. I have to do this. And
This
so
is,
I did
you
it.
know, now I'm remembering our little chat before, because yeah, I shared with you my experience when I was running a daycare, and it was that moment where I realized how miserable I was and how miserable my child was. And it was like, all these events had happened in a matter of just a few days. Like my mother came down with cancer, my grandmother died, my 2-year-old's telling me he wants everybody to go home, and I was like, we're done. What am I doing? What am I doing? This is not going to change. And it's so, and you realize you're like, life is too short. What am I doing? Why am I staying in this place? And it's so interesting to me how often we can struggle with something, especially
Hmm.
when you don't have clarity about what to do necessarily. So you're just kind of going through it. Like there might be something that's sort of like grinding in the background, but you're not really listening to it because you're like, well, like in your example, it was steady. It was steady income. It was falling in your lap, like you said. Like it all seemed like it should be a great thing to do, but you just had this huge epiphany. I just find it so interesting how clarity really can come in the most unexpected way, where it's just like kind of slaps you upside the head. And then you're suddenly like literally like you're waking up from a dream and going like, oh my God, what am I thinking? And yeah, go ahead.
Because for so many times I had been journaling and thinking and tossing it around about uh, ways to work towards changing the structure. And it's like, you've been at this for a while. It's it's
Yeah.
not happening and it was like I said, it was a gift. Sometimes there are things that you don't wish for that you wouldn't choose, but that you need to just steer you in the right direction again. So
Well, yeah, and I think the other interesting thing too about your story and mine is that you have this moment of clarity and you just know, not this. This is done.
mm,
I have no idea what's going to happen next. I don't know what the next step is. Um, and so I'm curious for you, like how did the events unfold after that? Because you're listening to the quiet voice within that's like
Hmm.
finally telling you, okay, now is the time. But I'm guessing at that moment you weren't necessarily super clear on what was going to come next. Or did you?
No, I wasn't super clear. I think I've my core values are my word for the year, even to lean into it a bit more, is authenticity. So following your heart and authenticity is the same thing to me, as I feel like that's how we
Mhm.
receive that quiet voice that you mentioned. And so I guess I have just surrendered. I knew I couldn't do much for a while because the things that I might possibly do, the most obvious thing was that I was already doing a music incursion somewhere with my Livy's Little Legends thing where I do music for children. So that's that seemed like the logical thing to work on next, but I couldn't do anything about it very much because other than maybe reaching out and say, does anyone need a Christmas incursion? That's or something like that. For the most part, that's all winding down. Everyone's taking a big break. So any of the kind of things that I thought I might get into weren't going to happen until probably February. If there's in Australia, this probably doesn't relate in the northern hemisphere,
Yeah.
but I think you have a big break somewhere else in the year, maybe in what's our winter. But we have a big long holiday from Christmas till the end of January, school holidays and things like that. So anything that you're doing that's related to children and schools
Yeah.
is pretty quiet
Right.
until then. So yeah, I just had to step off and I guess in a way that was permission to have a break. But yeah, I'd done that. And I've just since then, and what I'm still doing is following the breadcrumbs and seeing what happens. So, for example, the reason I'm on this podcast is for no great expectations, but I wrote this book around the same time as I was closing the business. I had just finished writing this book, which also was a bee in my bonnet moment where I had the idea of writing the book, which is the ultimate book of word spells. I don't know if there's going to be a video version of there. I'll hold it up.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
21, that's right. 21 days to miracles, abundance, and higher guidance. And it feels for me what comes to me and what my gifts are or what I'm made to do is create. I create songs for children, I create songs for adults, and then more recently the meditations and the mantras, which turned into a book. And everything has just been following my intuition. Like this book is a book that I wrote by accident in a way because I know I hear of people writing a book and it being this long commitment, and it was
Mhm.
lots of hard work and
Yeah.
a hard slog. And for me, it was I wrote the content first before I realized it was a book. So that was kind of an easier way to do it. So when I go to journal or it can be because something's come up in my life where I want to work through it, which I guess is the same thing. I'll go to write, and then oftentimes I'll find that it ends up as a poem, a mantra, or lyric as a song. And I always thought that's a funny little quirk. That's funny that I do that. But I'd write these things and I'd do it sometimes. Sometimes it would be when if I'm life happens, right? I'm not here sitting here as some sort of guru or something. I'm in the muck with everybody else and life happens. And I feel like we listen to podcasts, we scroll social media, we watch the news, we watch entertainment, and we have our parents' thoughts and our friends, and we are constantly being programmed with all of this stuff that we take in, and we can do it unconsciously. And so my purpose of writing these things is, oh, I don't like where my mind is going at the moment. I don't like this negative loop. I don't like what I've just seen on social media or whatever it may be. I'm going to actually write something that is helpful to me and that is what I want to create in my mind first and then in my life. And so I would write these mantras, and sometimes I would then record them for myself and play them on a loop. And I could just either just be still and listen to them, or just be around the house doing the dishes or cooking or whatever, and listen to them instead of some negative stuff I didn't want to believe. So that's how it came about. And then I saw on social media someone that I've followed for a while and that I have a connection with. And her name is Katie Carey, and she's constantly writing all these wonderful books and all these collaborative books. And she wrote a post that said, if you're someone who journals and it comes and it feels like it's just come through you and you've written poetry and that's what you do when you journal, this could be for you. And it was like written for me. And I'm like, oh, there's a collaborative book. There's other people that do this, And it just played. And I jumped on and I put in one of my poems in that one, Soul Poems 4, number 4. And so that planted the seed that I could that it could be a book, that it's a thing. And then I realized it's not just actually just poems, because I used to think, to be honest, like, does anyone buy books of poetry? I guess they actually do. But but I thought actually what I've got it's tools. It's actually tools it's something that I genuinely use myself.
Mm.
It could be helpful. I was already putting it on Insight Timer first, and more recently I've started putting them on YouTube. And I've got like hundreds of reviews on Insight Timer of people actually using them and finding them helpful. So it occurred to me, this could be a book. I could put it together and put it by categories and put it out there. And it's got QR codes if people want to listen to it. And so it's entirely me just following the breadcrumbs. So my intention with the book at the moment is that I just share it. If I see a podcast come up where it seems like a fit, where we have shared values, I'll put my hat in the ring and say, I'll let people know. And the book could help them, or it could be that it's just the tool that helps me have conversations with people like you. And who knows? Who knows where it leads? So there's no agenda. There's no, you have to get this book and then it has to be, well, it did reach bestseller at one point, but it's not about being the next Wayne Dyer or
Oh,
Wayne.
well,
It's just like
yeah,
putting it out there, and who knows?
yeah,
Who knows why yet? I don't know why.
yeah.
So,
I love that. There's I feel like there's a purity in that, when I remember a few years ago when I was thinking of wanting to do a YouTube channel and interviewing people, and originally, more specifically, I wanted to talk about people's awakening experiences, and I remember this one business coach, like I was on a discovery call with her or whatever, and I told her my idea, and she immediately shut it down. She's like, "That's not going to help your business at all,"
mm,
you know? And and then at some point I was like, so what? I don't care. Like, I want to do this, and this is a something that wants to be expressed and wants to be experienced. And why do we always have to attach ourselves to an outcome or be strategic in such a way, like, oh, if I write this book, is it going to make me any money? Well, I guess it's not, so I guess I won't write it. It's almost like you cut yourself off from the miracles or the
hmm
coincidences that you actually refuse out of your life, because you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that because it's not good. We think so much of point A to point B, when life is so much
hmm
more, you know um there's so much more movement and happenstance. And like in meeting all these people on this podcast, that I'm doing here with you, it's like you never know what kind of collaboration could come out of it. You never know how you could help someone. You have no idea who's listening and who might, resonate with something. Uh, it's like when we let go of the outcome and we just do it because we want to, because there's the
Hmm.
joy of doing it, and there's maybe a curiosity of like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's just see. There's almost like a childlike quality to that, that um, yeah, that kind of opens you
Mm.
up to something bigger that wants to happen through you. You just don't know what it is yet. Um, so it's interesting. Um,
Yeah.
would you mind like reading some part of the book to us?
Of course.
Choose a part.
Uh, Let me see. Let me get my glasses. I'm going to read, actually, was it yesterday or the day before? I had a reading with someone. Like I was on someone's podcast where I asked her, she channels guidance, um, and so this someone came through to give me some guidance, and then she said, and then have a look at page 73. I don't know, just have a look at page 73 of your book. And later on I had a look, and it happened to be the same poem that it's Katish Haberfield is her podcast, and so she's a medium and she channeled someone, and it happened to be the same poem that Katish herself had shared, and she didn't realize it was this page number that got mentioned. So now this is front of mind, so I'm going to share it. It's my value. My value is inherent. My value is immense. My value isn't limited by ceilings or offense. My value is expansive. My value is within. My value is an emanation of what has always been. My value is eternal, not based on KPIs. My value is that I exist. It's time to realize that we are all connected. I'm you and you are me. We're our own liberation. Let's set each other free. We know now there's no other, no enemy to fight. Embodying our truth now is how we bring the light. Let's tune into this message. Let's send it out as one. We bring in the new earth now. Ascension has begun, and so it is.
I love that. That's really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's interesting that you bring up that the theme was value. I was just having a conversation with somebody about that, about value, what that really is, and that, we tend to think that we have to do something or have a special skill or expertise in something to be of value. And it's so important to be reminded that you are valuable because you were created, right? And so
Hmm.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you. I
Yeah.
feel like there is this shift, don't you? Unless it's not just us and our algorithms, is it? Obviously, you have this podcast. You must be on this wavelength where there is this shift and this awakening in this world. And and I think we've had our priorities and our values upside down, inside out, back to front. And
Yeah.
and I watched a movie. It's called Our Song, maybe, or Song Eternal Song,
Mm.
and it was about the indigenous people of the world. And I think we're coming to respect the wisdom that they had all along. And I think that was one of the people that I think it was the Native American person who said that the people arrived there in the boats, and they didn't have what they had as far as thinking that they had to earn something, or I think they'd gone through their own trauma, but they didn't realize that they had value. That they already, these indigenous people have grown up and have had that wisdom of just knowing, just existing is enough. There's nothing to prove.
Yeah. I agree.
Mm,
There's, yeah, I mean, when you talk about trauma, oh my gosh, it's like we have so much of it
mm,
because of this programming that's constantly telling you that you're not worthy, you're not enough, you need to do more, you need to change who you are, all these things. And I really, you work with young children, I worked with young children for so long. And when you look at young children, they don't question who they are or who they're being, right? I mean, granted,
mm,
yes, they're children and they're not mature adults, but it's like something is happening in between that time and when we become adults and we take on all this crap. And
mm,
yeah, like you said, our values are upside down. Like why are teachers undervalued and yet, the guy on Wall Street is, whatever. Yeah, it's just doesn't make sense. Um, and so I agree with you. I think there's a shift, and there's in your poem, and you said that you and I are one, or you and I are the same. I mean, we really are reflections of each other and part of the oneness. And I think that there is that we're moving out of the mind, which has
mm,
all of its thoughts and its ideas and strategies and whatever, and really just moving into the presence of being in the heart and just to be in that space where it's like it's just so much freer. And that's what we're looking for. We want to
mm,
belong, we want to be able to relate with one another, we want to feel safe, we want to all these things. And yeah, there is such this return of these, yeah, ancient wisdom from, the indigenous peoples, and coming back to the earth and valuing the earth. And yeah, it's an interesting time for sure.
mm. And I feel like going back to your business coach, I feel like he or she was can't
She,
remember, but
she.
she was probably, she was giving the correct, quote unquote, the
Oh
correct
yeah,
advice, like for linear thinking and for maybe for this earthly world, how things have operated, and for maybe possibly I could say neurotypical. I don't know, but anyway, but there
totally,
is,
totally.
yeah, but there is another. There are other ways, and it feels on one hand like we're pioneers trying to discover it, but we're probably just trying to remember something we've
Yeah,
forgotten. That
yeah.
there is another way because there's a saying, the brain thinks, the heart knows. And so if you go with the heart and go with inner guidance, you're connecting to the part that goes beyond linear, the part that we cannot see and that we cannot know, but we just trust. So we're opening to more possibilities.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting how there still is a bit of a divide between what you said, like the world, like the way the world operates. Well, what is the world? Is it the Matrix? Is it like you said, oh, well, if you're going to be good in business, then you got to do this, this, and this. Um, and then you're kind of like, yeah, but what about all this, like the world of spirit and love and wanting to connect and to share and to relate in that way. And it's like, yeah, I get that business is business. It's very hard edge and very like, again, strategic and all of this. It's like um that approach doesn't really give way or space to whole other experience that wants to land. And so it's interesting how for me, that's what I see in the world. It's kind of I see like, okay, people are still trying to make business operate in this way. And it's like, what if we could like, and yet those structures are crumbling, right? Like we're finding that those
Exactly.
those don't really, they're not sustainable long term. They don't feel good. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's people that get off on that kind of approach, but for me, I just, to
But
me, it's
it,
just
I
excruciatingly painful. It's just such a painful way to go about your life and your business. And it's like, can we do this a different way? Why does
I
it,
I
why
feel
are
like
we,
we have to,
yeah,
because it used to be that, you went to school, went off to university or college or whatever you call it, and then you had the job, and then you could stay there for 30 years, 50 years, and like everything was reliable and the same for some generations. And now everything's shifting so quickly, and what worked back then may not work anymore. And then there's AI come, to replace what things that we've known, and maybe now is the time more than ever to trust your inner guidance to discover
yeah,
the new parts, because it may not be a bad thing that it's crumbling.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it
yeah,
could be that we get to be more creative. So,
mhm, yeah. Yeah, and it's funny. I know you mentioned at the very beginning that you have ADHD, and it seems like a lot of a lot of adults now are realizing like, oh, I've had ADHD my whole life. And so I've been seeing these there's one person in particular, I can't remember their name, but they're talking about like, okay, so neurodivergence is really just somebody that is creative, highly intuitive, like uh you know, artistic, sees thinks outside of the box, like all these things. And it's like, what if what if that was actually normal? Maybe that's what's
mm,
normal, and all this
exactly.
other stuff is actually totally not normal, not really human, like not what we're really, not really how we're designed to operate. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I had children that I remember this one child that was in my classroom, and the parent told me, "Oh, he has ADHD and he hasn't done really well in school, and so that's why he's here in this Waldorf charter school." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay, yeah, thank you." Just thinking like, "Oh, this is a delicate situation." And I
Mm,
remember observing him, and he was just totally like spaced out, not engaged, sitting in the back of the classroom. And I was like, "Oh boy, yeah, this is going to be interesting." But honestly, there was nothing wrong with that kid. I just gave him some attention and some love and some, one-on-one time, and he just blossomed. He
mm,
came alive. He was engaging. He was, excited about school. Like he just, and it's so funny how we attach these labels as like, oh, I'm sorry, this is, apologizing to the kid. And it's like, oh, okay, and yeah, it was so, I find a lot of these kids that have ADD, whatever, they're brilliant. They're not meant
mm.
to be, put in these little, sitting at a desk and, memorizing
Yeah.
stuff, and they're brilliant. And so anyway, I had to plug that in here because
Mm.
yeah, I think it's something
It can be.
to be
I feel
celebrated.
like any neurotype, if it's not in trauma and dysregulated, it's going to be a superpower. So, and with ADHD, it's you get to notice so many things. You can be a genius in some ways for getting to notice things that other people haven't because
People
they're
don't.
focused, and but your focus is everywhere, and so
Yeah,
you notice other things. So, I
yeah,
mean, we're all supposed to be different
yeah.
for a reason. Yeah.
I had a woman that asked me, and she's like, "Have you ever been tested for ADD?" And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" What? And now that when I talk to more people, I'm like, maybe so, because I am like super, super creative, multi-talented, and like you said, it's just you just see and notice so many things, and anyway, it's fascinating. But anyway, I feel like I digress. So I just want to mention to the audience that if you're interested in Olivia's book, there's a Linktree post. You can go in there and get connected to her and get her book. And I'm assuming your music is on there as well.
My music is there.
Yeah.
Um, I have to put a new song out. I've got a song that I've written and I'm taking too long to publish it because I wanted to do a video. And it's delaying the whole thing. I should just put it out, which is Let Your Freak Flag Fly, which kind of continues with the theme of
Yeah. Nice.
however you are, now's your time to shine, baby. We need you to be.
I love that. I love that. So good. So good. So needed. So Olivia, thank you so much for being here, and everyone that's watching or listening, please like, share, subscribe, support this channel. Check out Olivia's book. Are there any last words that you want to share with the audience before we sign off?
Um, no, I can't. Not really. Just thank you for just thank you for following along. Please stay in touch and like Tanya said, share. And I'd love you to follow me too, so that I can connect with you.
Yeah,
Instagram is Livy Media, Livvi Media.
perfect. Awesome. All right, much love, everybody, and thanks again, Olivia, and we'll see you all soon.
Bye.